Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're diving into how a sport famous for its absolutely brutal physical collisions somehow uses this encyclopedic rulebook to maintain perfect order. I mean, at first glance, a rugby match, it just looks like pure, unadulterated chaos, right? Massive athletes colliding at top speed, diving into these huge piles of bodies and fiercely battling for literally every single inch of turf. But as you'll see, beneath that raw exterior lies one of the most meticulously structured systems in all of global sports. So we're going to break down exactly how the laws of the game manage to keep all that incredible raw power perfectly in check. Let's get into it.
Because we are dealing with some pretty dense sporting laws today, here's our game plan to decode this whole thing systematically. First up, the primal game regulated. Second, the pitch and the players. Third, scoring tries and goals. And lastly, the high-tech TMO protocol.
Okay, part one, the primal game regulated. It's really easy for a casual viewer to look at rugby and just see unbridled brute force. But every single action out there is meticulously harnessed. The laws aren't just there to punish guys. They exist to create this incredibly safe, structured framework where players can exert maximum physical effort without the game devolving into a street brawl. And this quote, "Power means nothing without control," absolutely hits the nail on the head. It captures the core philosophy of rugby, channeling our most primal aggression into a heavily regulated, respectful environment. Honestly, that's a pretty solid takeaway for life, too, isn't it? You can have the strongest, fastest athletes on the planet, but the second they step outside the strict boundaries set by the international laws of the game, boom, that power is instantly neutralized by the referee's whistle. Moving right along to Section 2, the pitch and the players. To really understand this sense of control, we first need to establish the physical boundaries of the game. Let's look at the actual geometry of the battlefield. Before a single pass is even thrown, the exact dimensions of the playing area dictate the entire flow of the match. The action takes place within a strictly measured arena. We're talking a maximum of 100 meters long and 68 meters wide. This field is flanked by end goal areas where the points are actually scored, and it's gridded out with very specific transverse lines, like the 20-meter and halfway lines. Every single meter is defined. Corner posts mark the critical intersection of the touchline and the goal line. And here's the crazy part. Stepping just 1 millimeter beyond these boundaries completely halts the play. It is that precise. Now, within those strict physical boundaries, the numbers of the players themselves are equally controlled. In International Rugby League, each team fields a maximum of 13 players at any given time. And by capping it at exactly 13, it keeps the 80-minute action incredibly fast, ensuring that every bit of open space is fiercely contested. It essentially forces the players to be both highly strategic and relentlessly fit. I mean, they have to cover a massive 100 by 68-meter grid. And of course, to protect these athletes, the modern laws stringently manage safety. A really great example of this is the 18th player replacement rule. Now, normally a team only has a set number of interchanges they can make, but this special 18th player, they only activate under very severe conditions. Specifically, they can come on if 2 players fail a head injury assessment or if a player gets injured by opposition foul play and can't return. And actually, there's a big catch for that second condition. The offending player from the other team must have been sin-binned or dismissed for it to count. It's a perfect example of a rule designed 100% for safety and fairness, rather than giving anyone a sneaky tactical advantage. All right, let's get into Section 3, scoring tries and goals. So, with the boundaries set and our players out on the pitch, what's the ultimate objective for those 13 guys? Well, accumulating points, obviously. At the end of the 80 minutes, whoever has the most points wins. But here's the thing about rugby. Not all points are created equal. The sport actually rewards different achievements with totally different values, and it heavily prioritizes physically crossing the opponent's goal line over just kicking the ball. A try is the ultimate prize, bagging you 4 points. Successfully kicking a goal after that try, which is called a conversion, or kicking a penalty goal earns you 2 points. And finally, a drop goal during general play nets you just a single point. This hierarchy fundamentally shapes the entire strategy of the game, actively pushing teams to take huge physical risks to cross that line, rather than just settling for kicks from a distance. As I mentioned, the most valuable play is a try, worth 4 points. But you can't just run into the end zone carrying the ball like you would in American football. Oh no. It requires a player to physically ground the ball in the opponent's in-goal area. And grounding means placing the ball on the grass with your hand or hands, or literally exerting downward pressure on it with your hand or arm. And crucially, while doing this, you cannot be in touch in goal, or on or over the dead ball line. So think about that. It requires absolute, pinpoint physical precision at the exact moment of highest impact. It's incredibly tough to execute. Alternatively, let's say you just need a quick single point during general play. That's when a player can execute a drop goal. This is a highly technical maneuver where a player drops the ball and kicks it exactly at the split second it rebounds off the ground, sending it flying on the full straight over the opponent's crossbar. It sounds simple enough, right? But imagine trying to perfectly time a drop kick while 13 massive defenders are charging right at you to block it. It requires absolutely incredible nerve and technique. But of course, all this forward progress must be earned legally. You can run with the ball, you can kick it, and you can pass it, but you can only pass it backwards. If you move the ball forward with your hands or arms, that results in what's called a knock-on. So if you just fumble the ball and it goes forward towards your opponent's dead ball line, the referee's whistle blows immediately. This instantly halts your attack, turns possession right over to the other team, and usually results in a scrum. It might seem like a harsh penalty for a simple handling error, but it's totally crucial. It ensures the game relies on strategic lateral passing and forward running, not just chucking the ball up the field. And that brings us to Section 4, the high-tech TMO protocol. Now, as the sport has evolved, so have the boundaries of fairness. Human referees are absolutely incredible, but let's be real, the game is just too fast for one person to see every single thing. So this is where cutting-edge video review steps in to help maintain order. But it's really important to understand why the television match official, or TMO, is used. The overarching principle here is just to support the on-field officiating team. The TMO exists strictly to help the referee in clear and obvious situations, which they define as an incident unlikely to be refereed in any other way. It is emphatically not there to hijack the game, micromanage every play, or drive decision-making from some video booth in the sky. The on-field referee always remains the absolute lead decision-maker. So, to make sure the game doesn't just lose all its momentum with endless replays, there are two distinct types of tech intervention. First, you have a formal referral. This one is instigated by the referee, play is completely stopped, the clock is stopped, and discussions take place to find the right decision. Contrast that with a live referral. In this scenario, play just keeps going. The TMO is constantly watching video replays in the background and can make a live call on the fly to correct a clear, obvious missed incident without grinding the whole game to a halt. It's a really delicate balance, between getting the call exactly right and keeping that 80-minute game flowing naturally. But here's a big question. When a try actually is scored, just how far back into the chaotic action can the TMO look to check for a penalty? I mean, you can't just rewind the tape 5 minutes and go hunting for some minor knock-on to cancel out an otherwise amazing try, right? There has to be a limit. So to keep that game flowing, the TMO is strictly confined to reviewing only the 2 phases of play immediately preceding the try. And a phase of play is legally defined as a scrum, a lineout, a ruck, or a maul. If an incident, let's say an offside or a forward pass, happened 3 phases ago, it is completely off-limits for review. The try will stand. This rule basically forces a compromise between demanding absolute perfection and maintaining the natural, continuous flow of the sport. Really, every single law we've looked at today, from the exact dimensions of the pitch to that 18th player safety rule, right down to these strict TMO review timeframes, they all serve one unified purpose. The ultimate goal here is maintaining the absolute integrity of the game. It guarantees that when 2 teams of 13 players literally smash into each other for 80 minutes, the final result is decided by skill, strategy, and lawful physicality, not by chaos. Which leaves us with a pretty fascinating final thought to take away from this explainer. Think about it. If we can build a framework to successfully control aggression in a sport, channeling our most primal physicality into a deeply respectful, heavily regulated environment where power means absolutely nothing without control, could this be a blueprint for handling conflict in our everyday lives? It's definitely a question worth pondering long after the final whistle blows. Thanks for joining me to decode the laws of this truly incredible game. Catch you next time.